And so many of our leaders now were actually graduates of the University of the West Indies.
Mm.
And also, I mean, like for instance, Ralph Gonzalez. I remember when I was going down there, when I was at the university, he was one of the lecturers there. Okay, and I am surprised. It's kind of disappointed, I should say, that kind of camaraderie didn't translate to
leadership in government.
Better leadership now.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
In that, they still seem so disparate and selfish almost.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Insular. I really thought they would have made more progress in terms of transmitting that, converting that camaraderie.
Yes.
To the region as a whole, and we would have been much further ahead in terms of integration. But that's the happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, we feel the same way down here as well. So don't think you're special.
Oh?
we have.
You do?
Yeah, we have the same problems in the U.S. Virgin Islands as well. But at my point, I have to take my first break. Let me take my first break, and we'll be back in about a minute and a half. Okay, we'll be right back.
Sure.
Hi, it's me, your genie. I heard your cry. Do you need a transmission or engine, whether new or used? Let me help you get it from start to finish. I can clear customs and deliver to your mechanic as well. No hassle, no fuss. Just call Latanya at 407-719-2635. 407-719-2635.
Attention all private homeowners and contractors. East Caribbean Metals, located on the island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, have affordable pricing on all roofing material, PVC pipes, steel, and much more. Call East Caribbean Metals, 1-784-456-1843. Remember, your U.S. dollar goes further when you purchase your building supplies from East Caribbean Metals. Visit www.ecmil.net for more product information.
Get ready for a night of gaming, glamour, and giving back. Join us for the 56th annual Las Vegas Night fundraiser on Saturday, December 6th at the Westin Frenchman's Reef. The fun kicks off at 7 p.m. and goes all the way until 2 a.m. Experience the thrill of Las Vegas Night here with an exciting casino game, live entertainment, delicious food, and prize giveaways, all for a great cause. Whether you're a high roller or a first-timer, there's something for everyone. So put on your best Vegas attire, bring your lucky charm, and get ready to roll the dice for a good cause. Tickets are available now. Don't miss your chance to be part of this spectacular evening. For more information, visit vimzia.org. That's the 56th annual Las Vegas Night fundraiser, Saturday, December 6th, 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. at the Westin. See you there.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM. My name is Lawrence Boschulte. My guest, if you could say your first name and your last name.
Ira McMahon.
Okay, Ira. So let's jump into. You stated before we went on break that your disappointment was on how, and I agree with you on my leadership here in the U.S. Virgin Islands is the same. That you would expect that they go to school and for you had a lot of individuals that went to the West Indies. Because most of the people in the Eastern Caribbean go to that university. Here we have the University of Virgin Islands, but then they also go away and then they come back to run the various political offices here. As an individual, for you, when you were probably with a lot of different premiers and different leaders, not only from St. Kitts and Nevis, but as you stated, probably Antigua, Anguilla, Dominica. Do you still?
Yes, the whole range, because that university served the Eastern Caribbean pretty much.
Correct.
We also had, the law faculty was at Cayfield in Barbados. So you had Jamaicans coming over, and you also had Trinidadians coming up. So even though they had campuses in Trinidad and Jamaica then, they would come up. And of course, there were Guyanese who would come up as well.
Okay.
So it was a real melting pot of people from the region.
Nice. And after, did you have a lot of of camaraderie and flying to the different leaders as well, or you just saw them most at the University of the West Indies and then afterwards kept in contact, or no?
Well, I don't think we had a strong alumni. Well, not as strong, let's say, as I think the university, UVI had a stronger alumni. Okay, but because of Liat, I think we had pretty good connections once ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, between Liat and it was BWIA, and I mean they really did a lot to foster contacts between the people in the region, along with, of course, rather less so when I was coming up. As a matter of fact, my first introduction to the other islands was by boat, by the federal, was it Palm or Maple? They had two, which would run from Jamaica right down to Trinidad.
Wow.
You know, and I remember one summer actually going on that. So in a sense, it was the first cruise ship, so to speak,
Okay.
going between the islands, you know. And that was a really good experience. Unfortunately, those folded, and Liat and BWIA took over. We're not going to solve the integration problem, I think, unless we solve the transportation problems.
Correct.
Okay?
I agree on that.
That's, yeah.
But not only the transportation problem, because right now we have problems, as you mentioned, Liat, they run into their issues of supporting the Eastern Caribbean. I have taken it myself to come to St. Kitts. The situation is, if they don't have that support, my problem, not on your side, my problem with my people at the U.S. Virgin Islands, we hear complain about other people coming in all the time to take over, but then we never invest or work on what's there. So Liat had an issue before we invest and help Liat or work with St. Kitts or work with Tortola, work with Anguilla, all the different stops, and say, hey, let's all get together to make sure this doesn't fall, because we have so many people that are from the Eastern Caribbean that move around. If we don't have it, then it's like it costs too much. We don't get to see each other. So
right, but believe me, they've tried. I think they just threw their hands up with Liat for one after COVID. Because it was essentially owned by governments, and you know how government ownership goes.
Yeah.
Unless there's strong private sector input, somehow it always goes south.
Yeah, the maintenance.
So they tried, okay? But I think now there's a multiplicity of airlines running between the islands. And I don't know if, to be quite honest, I don't know how profitable they are. I suspect that at some point, the best will remain and the least profitable ones are going to fold, or, you know, the routes are going to be cut or something. But I really feel that the governments can do something in terms of either subsidizing air travel to make it cheaper for people to move between the islands, or removing so many of those nuisance fees that they have, ostensibly to offset the operating costs of the airports.
I love
fancy airports.
Yeah, I love the word that you use. It was a crafty word of nuisance. You're correct. It is a nuisance when you have to. You look at your
taxes nuisance.
Yeah, you look at your bill. You look at the bill and see all the different tax this and tax that and that. You're like, what? Yeah. Might as well just give me one bill, because I agree with you. It becomes a nuisance of looking at it. As an individual, after you finished at the University of West Indies and you came back now to St. Kitts, how was that transition for you?
It was actually pretty good, you know. One of the things that helped, again, Canada stepped in, and I went for further studies in Canada. And that itself gave me quite a lot of experience to work at the college level here. I was actually the secretary of what was then called CATVET, the Caribbean Association of Technical and Vocational Education and Training. And that gave me, well, for one thing, we had to do a lot of moving around the islands and other places as well for training and seminars and meetings and those kinds of things. And it gave me a good insight as to where we were in terms of other islands.
Mm-hmm,
okay?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You know, we
measure up.
were able to learn from the larger islands like Jamaica, which had well managed national training boards and so on, and had good labor market information systems, those kinds of things which really make a country function, okay? Because then you have a match between the labor market, what jobs are out there, with the training, okay? That's one of the things we struggle with, mainly because of our small size, the small size of the islands. Technical and vocational education is very expensive. And when you have a small size, you have to ask yourself, does it make sense to train, let's say, 10 people in a particular discipline when you only need 5, or you can bring in 2 from somewhere else, okay? You know, those kinds of things have to be dealt with. It's all well and good to say, well, let's train everybody in everything that we need. But sometimes you have to look at the cost, okay, and whether it makes more sense to do alternatives, to look at alternative ways of fulfilling the job market needs.
Understood. When you were approached by Canada, did you live in Canada for a period of time?
Yes, yes.
So
that in itself was an unforgettable experience.
I was about to say,
it was in Ontario, but one of the coldest parts of Ontario.
I was about to say because I wasn't.
A place called Thunder Bay.
Wow.
Right? Extremely cold. I used to think that winter was just a few months in the year. Up there, it was 6 months.
I know. I went to school in.
But it was a good environment for study. You know, not too many distractions. It wasn't like the larger cities like Toronto. You know, where you have a lot of
Caribbean people. Yeah.
There's right. Where I went, there were just a scattering of people of my race.
Another beautiful word, scattering.
Yeah, really, a sprinkling. It really was a sprinkling. At the college I was, at the college I was, probably you could count them on one hand. And at the university, because it's a university town as well, probably on 2 hands, and that was it.
Wow. I find it unique because I know how cold I was in the Midwest, and Canada is much higher up than where I was.
Right.
So
yes. This is close to Minnesota. So
yeah, that's cool. So I
yeah, really cool.
I don't admire you, but I know I don't know if I could do it. To go that far north.
Yeah, you'd survive. Trust me, you'd survive. You have to.
So after your stint at Canada, and what caused you to come back home? I guess the coldness. One day you probably said, "Look, I could be home in nice warm weather."
Well, actually, nothing like that. Actually, it was a requirement. It was a requirement for the scholarship, right? That I return home. So it wasn't so much the cold. I was bonded by government, so I had to return. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you situations here in the Virgin Islands that sometimes you're bounded by government, but then what they do, they pay off what the government. The problem is that the government pays for you to go to school, but then when you come back, if you don't get the salary you want, and I had a situation with one of my employees, he was a mechanic. We sent him away to get certified, big certification to do diesel and any type of engine. That's the certification he went for. Got it, came back. The government didn't want to give him a raise to his liking. He went back to the States and somehow got a loan and paid off what was owed to the government and stayed in the States because they had a better situation. So while I agree with you with the obligation,
that happened.
Some people
that happened.
Yeah,
that happens here as well. Yeah.
So you came home and you started teaching. That's when you started teaching high school, or did it change?
No. College, at the college.
Okay, so you started teaching when you came back to the college.
Continued, not started.
Okay, yes, you're right. You started and then you went to state and came back. How was it now with teaching the different individuals or young people? Which subjects?
No, the thing about, I guess, college as opposed to high school, you have young people who they're transitioning from high school.
Yes.
And they're about to come out from under their parents' wing, in the sense that we had their parents used to pay everything. They know they're going to soon have to work.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay? So that the realization that that is coming, I think, give them a different attitude to, let's say, when they were in high school. Okay. So generally, it's a better experience in the sense that they have to take control of their own learning, so to speak. Okay. You can't be cajoled into learning as it is in school, which is somewhat regimented. Okay. There you have to, it's on you to show up for classes, and it's on you to do the extra work, the hard studying and so on, to make sure you meet the requirements to graduate. Okay, so it's a little different to high school.
Yeah, I don't know about your high school. I went to a private school here in the Virgin Islands, and it wasn't until I got to college that I understood what you just said. When you said you could go to class if you want, because in my high school, if you missed class, you had to go to the principal office. If you wanted to go to the restroom, you had to raise your hand. So I raised my hand in college to go to the restroom. The teacher looked at me like I was crazy, saying, you don't have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom. But I was raised that way. I was raised that you can't just up and leave the classroom when you want to. That's not allowed in our, I don't know how it is now. Back in my day, I can't speak for my private school now. I could speak for when I went to school in my.
Well, I mean, there's still elements of regimentation in that. For instance, here at our college, we still have uniforms. Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So there's still some elements of.
So in college, because I had a uniform in high school, but I went to America, but even at the university here at the UVI, you don't have to wear a uniform to the university. So your university, okay.
Here you do. Here you do.
Oh, that's unique. Now I know something different. How did you find? And I know these youngsters are, like you said, starting to do stuff on their own, pay for stuff on their own. But how did you get the education? Was it hard to talk to them and for them to grasp some of the education that you were trying to get across to them?
Just like anywhere else, there's some who really grasp it, who really are really motivated and so on, and there are others who you have to work with in a different way, because you see, I think just like how there's a transition for students from high school to college, there's a transition for parents as well, in the sense that parents have a lot of expectations for their children. And sometimes, I use the word directed before.
Yes, from my mother. Yeah.
They direct students into areas where they don't really want to go. I saw that particularly in the area that I was heading, the Division of Technical and Vocational Education and Management. Where there's always this idea that you select the nice inverted commas clean subjects or courses like architecture, electronics, business studies, those kinds of disciplines, as opposed to the ones that you'll get quote unquote dirty in. Okay, and I found a lot of parents would tend to direct at least when I was down there. Maybe it's changed now, because I retired since 2005. They wanted their children to go into those areas, those areas, and it was not about they being the money earners. I don't think it was more a prestige thing, unfortunately. But that's another story. We're gonna get into the politics when we come back, right? I think we're probably just for a break now.
Correct. You're right. I'm going on a break right now, and then when we come back, we go straight into the politics. But that's a little political too. So we'll be right back.
That's the sound of your animals. Strong, healthy, and delivering yields you love. That didn't just happen. It began with you feeding them only the best. East Caribbean Feeds. Rest assured, we only produce your feeds with premium ingredients. No hormones, no animal byproducts. Just everything your animal needs for maximum nutrition. Because your animals deserve only the best. East Caribbean Feeds from Maximum Nutrition.
East Caribbean Feeds has arrived in the BVI. Proudly available at Emperor International, Warehouse B, Skelton Bay Lot, Fish Bay, Tortola. Trusted quality, proven nutrition. Give your animals the care they deserve with Maximum Nutrition. Telephone number 540-2225.
Hi, good day. Do you live in the BVI or the USVI and want to advertise your product? Well, you've come to the right place. On FM 90.9 and FM 92.3, you can advertise your business or your event. All you have to do is call Tanya at 407-719-2635. Call Tanya if you live in the BVI or the USVI and want to advertise your product or your business and you want to reach more listeners. Call Tanya at 407-719-2635.
Every young person deserves a chance to heal, to learn, to grow. At My Brother's Workshop, we provide that chance. Through mentorship, education, counseling, job training, and placement, we give at-risk youth in the U.S. Virgin Islands hope, healing, and purpose. But we can't do it without you. Right now, through August 30th, every dollar you give will be doubled thanks to the generosity of the Anicetti family, who will match all donations up to $25,000. That means your $50 becomes $100, your $100 becomes $200, and the impact, life-changing. Help us change lives right here in our community. Go to mybrothersworkshop.org to donate today. That's mybrothersworkshop.org. Give hope, double your impact, be the difference.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM. My name is Lawrence Boschulte. My guest, if you could say your first and last name.
Ira McMahon.
All right, Ira. So let's jump straight into the politics. That the reason you're calling. I normally do the background check so that, and this is only the first time. The next time you come on, we won't go through that again. But at least I know a little bit about you, and we jump straight into the politics the next time you come on. So go ahead.
Okay, well, my understanding is that you're supposed to speak about the Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Act.
Yes, and
Yes.
I'm glad that you mentioned St. Kitts and Nevis. The last few guests that I had, we mostly talked about how Destiny Project is affecting Nevis. But if you want to jump on St. Kitts first and then we jump on that is fine, because I haven't really talked to individuals too much about how that SSZ is compacting St. Kitts.
Okay, well, first of all, I think there is an attempt to separate the two. The act that was passed in the federal parliament and the Destiny Project. I don't think that's going to fly with people here. Okay, the act had its first reading, and I think it passed pretty much under the radar for most people. It was only when it had its second and third reading in Parliament that the whole thing really exploded. And in the intervening time between the first and the second and third reading, the Destiny Project, news of the Destiny Project started trickling in. And when I said trickling in, I actually mean trickling in, because people were unaware that something was afoot. Okay? Well, right? People generally, civil society generally. I suspect that the leaders knew what was happening, but kept things on the wraps, which is one of the problems. And remember, I told you that one of the reasons I got involved is because I think we have governance issues here on St. Kitts and Nevis, right? There's a lack of openness and transparency and accountability, okay? And this secretive way of running government, I think, comes back to haunt us from time to time, as it's doing in this case, all right? And so the act was passed in the federal parliament in St. Kitts. And the red flag for me, actually, was why special in the name? Might seem trivial, but why special? Because special suggests that you're going to be discriminating against other investors, both local and foreign, okay? Things are going to be different. Why, when we have existing legislation that allow for things like concessions and other developments, why was it necessary to have this act, this special Sustainability Zones Authorization Act, okay? And that question has not been, well, in my opinion at least, have not really been satisfactorily answered, okay? Remember I told you, that, for instance, that I worked at an economic zone of sorts.
Yes.
The industrial park.
Yes.
Right? So it's nothing new. It really was nothing new. It's just that overall, the zone, this act seemed to be, well, they describe it as a framework, as an overarching bill. I would say that it's very vague, okay? And it allows for the most mundane of economic zones to the worst of them, Okay? And I think that the legislation should have outlawed certain types of zones. It should have said, we don't want no communes, we don't want no radical left or right anything, okay? We don't want no cults, because those would be detrimental to our country. And incidentally, or coincidentally, today is, I think, the 47th anniversary of the Jonestown massacre in Ghana. I don't know if you recall that, when a U.S. congressman was killed.
Yes.
Right. And this man, Jim Jones, convinced well over 900 people to go to their death. All right.
Yeah, he must have had a good. He was a good speaker.
Hello.
Yeah, I was saying he must have been a good speaker, my son, because that's a lot of people to.
You use good in those terms. Anyway, the fact is, we don't want things like those here. They started out as a religious organization, okay, and this is what they ended up as in this commune, and this is what it ended up as. The reason why I think a lot of people are objecting to the project, the Destiny Project as is because, for one thing, the scale, right? It's one thing to have a small area of 100, 200 acres, 300 acres. But when you're going to go to over 2,000 acres, and when you're going to talk about 7,000 to 10,000 people, as the Premier did, coming into a zone, that has huge implications, okay? For it's going to change the character of the place, right? And so it should not be overlooked, right? And it's quite, there are also no limits right now on things like how many of these zones you can have. What is the maximum number of persons, residents are going to occupy these zones? Okay. What is the size limit of these zones? These things aren't there. So in other words, you're basically saying that in 10, 15, 20 years down the road, the whole St. Kitts and Nevis would be unrecognizable as it is right now, and not in a positive way. Okay? Like I said, the whole character would be changed. The second thing that really perked my interest was the fact that it's a catch-all thing, right? It really needed to be tightened up. Okay, I suspect that it will be. At least the Prime Minister suggested that he was open to doing that. Opposition elements here are saying that they should repeal it. Okay, but the impression I'm getting is it has gone so far now. These people have actually bought land and have concessions to land. And the question is, well, if the project don't continue in some form or fashion, what is supposed to happen to that land, right? So I honestly feel there should be some kind of off-ramp where we don't do this expanse of a project that is going to really change our country, but have some elements of it that could enable the same kinds of objectives that our negotiators have in mind, in terms of providing opportunities for people here, giving the government more money to deal with things like infrastructure and social programs and those kinds of things, but not that scale. That scale, I think, is totally outrageous, right? And the next thing that I find kind of reprehensible is the kinds of guardrails that they say they have on the project. Okay? In our parliamentary system, we know that the parliament is pretty much a rubber stamp. That's unfortunately, that's how it is down here. So to say that you are going to have the project, once approved, is going to have to come to the parliament for ratification, it's more or less a done deal what would happen. Okay? And that is not, I don't think that's a good thing. And in any event, if the negotiators are the government, right, they are not going to go against what they negotiate with. And what's also alarming is the fact that it seems as if they're negotiating things like penalties if the project don't go through. Now, how could you be negotiating penalties? You're going to sign an agreement for ratification. Are those penalties to come into effect if the proposal is not ratified? What exactly are we signing to? The whole thing is enveloped in secrecy, and that is not a good thing. And it started out like that, and it's continuing like that, this secrecy. And because it started so secretly, there's been a lot of suspicions and accusations of things like conflict of interest and corruption and those kinds of things. If you have run an open, transparent government, these things would not be in play. All right? There also, in our system, the fact that we complain about the Prime Minister having too much power. Yet, when we look at what is being done here, you see things like the Prime Minister and the Premier are going to be the ones who may, not must, may set up oversight bodies. Well, we know around here what oversight bodies do, what government control boards and so on do, right? They are essentially comprised of party hats and are rubber stamped themselves, okay? So that does not give us any comfort in knowing that the Prime Minister, who we already say have too much power, and the Premier, that they will do the right thing in cases like this. And it also seemed to be bypassing our regular oversight and regulatory systems like development and control and planning boards and those sort of entities that really scrutinize projects and make sure that they are indeed consistent with our development plans and so on, okay? And here again, it's left up to the whims and fancies of the Prime Minister and the Premier to consult those things. That should not be, right? These are not experts. Neither the Premier or the Prime Minister are experts in these kinds of development, right? And so to avoid or bypass boards like these that provide oversight, the law basically don't even seem to call the entities, bring the entities into it. Okay, that or where it does, it say may consult or may consider, those kinds of tentative things, which does not again give us comfort that things would go right on something like this. Okay, so those I think are the sorts of things that people are objecting to, and hope that the powers that be will at least listen to the concerns, because to be quite honest, to be frank with you, I don't think they're listening. They are going full ahead with this thing. It seems more desperation than anything else. I don't know if they can't find other ways, other investments to continue the development of the country. But they seem wedded. Well, certainly the Nevis Island Assembly and the Premier seem wedded to this development. And what I find obnoxious is the comparison with the Four Seasons. This is not the Four Seasons. Everybody knows the benefit, how Four Seasons have benefited Nevis. So in their strategy to get people to support the project, they say, well, this would be like Four Seasons are basically on steroids. When in fact it's a totally different type of development, right? They are not looking at the fact that they're going to have residents, well-heeled residents, okay? That number of them, and I'm sure just like in the Virgin Islands, right down here, money talks as well.
Yes,
okay?
correct. Yes.
So they're going to have an inordinate amount of influence on our society. May even change our culture. Culture. Nevis has 13,000 residents. You put in 10,000 different people with a different culture, different values, a lot more money. What do you think is going to happen?
Even if you're going to the low end of 7,000, that's a lot of people that's going to change all of that situation.
Of course. And I don't think it's necessary. I think we can do a better type of development. For instance, I'm sure you know. Do you know Frigate Bay here?
I do not. I don't want to say I do. I've been to Nevis, but I don't know it well enough to know where it is.
Frigate Bay was a pretty homegrown development, where you have a combination of local and foreign investments. It's the only place in St. Kitts right now, as far as I know, that you can, that a foreigner can get a alien land holding license to build, okay, or own property, right? Frigate Bay is a pretty well built up place. It's an economic zone in its own right, where you have a good balance of local and foreign investment. This is where we have our biggest hotel, Marriott. And you can include in that places like Christoph Harbour and so on.
So you're talking about before we go too far, I have to go on a break, and I think I know what you're talking about now, but I'll go on a quick break and we'll be back in about 2 minutes. We'll be right back.
Right.
Do you have a family member that may have errands to run during the week but are unable to because they don't drive or in a wheelchair? Or going to a function with a family member that's physically challenged and want to arrive in style? Call ICBW Transportation. We do errands, weddings, doctor appointments, funerals, and even beach outings. Call us at 407-719-2635. ICBW. We're there for you.
This is Jason in Atlanta. To keep up with what's going on at home, I listen to my boy Larry Boschulte on 90.9 FM via live stream at www.cbnvirginislands.com.
Get ready for a night of gaming, glamour, and giving back. Join us for the 56th annual Las Vegas Night fundraiser on Saturday, December 6th at the Westin Frenchman's Reef. The fun kicks off at 7 p.m. and goes all the way until 2 a.m. Experience the thrill of Las Vegas Night here with an exciting casino game, live entertainment, delicious food, and prize giveaways. All for a great cause. Whether you're a high roller or a first timer, there's something for everyone. So put on your best Vegas attire, bring your lucky charm, and get ready to roll the dice for a good cause. Tickets are available now. Don't miss your chance to be part of this spectacular evening. For more information, visit vimzia.org. That's the 56th annual Las Vegas Night fundraiser, Saturday, December 6th, 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. at the Westin. See you there.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM. My name is Lars Boschulte. My guest, if you could say your first and last name.
Ira McMahon.
So earlier, before we went on break, you was talking about Frigate Bay. Are you talking about on St. Kitts itself, or St. Kitts, or on Nevis?
St. Kitts.
Okay,
right?
No, I know the Marriott. I know the Marriott on Nevis, so I know
right.
what that area with the golf course is. No,
Marriott,
okay.
The Marriott is on St. Kitts.
Okay.
The Four Seasons is on Nevis.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Okay. The point I was making is that there are other alternatives. Remember, I told you that we've had good steady growth since independence.
Yes.
I mean, we have one of the highest standards of living in the OECS. Okay. So it isn't that we've been doing badly, and we've done that with, as Frigate Bay has shown, we've done that with homegrown, using a mixture of homegrown and local and foreign investment. There's no reason to, sure, you can have different other models, but the other models you bring in, you should be very careful with them. And I don't think the government is being very careful with this model. The act itself has some very controversial things inside it. If you look at it, right, when you look at the objectives, they seem pretty innocuous. They have in the right buzzword, sustainability, and those kinds of things. But they sneak things in there which are questionable. For instance, it says one of the objectives is to enhance both the region and St. Christopher and Nevis' prominence as extraordinary investment and lifestyle destination. What does that mean? What does lifestyle destination mean? That could mean a multitude of sins. Okay? Further down, it says, for instance, to promote the protection of the investments made by zone developers and other investors in real property within special sustainability zones, as well as the interests of lenders holding security over such properties. Okay? I hope they have the priorities right. They're supposed to be protecting our interests, not so much the interests of developers and those people who are coming, right? So, the sneak things like that. For instance, in the development agreement section, it has that the Prime Minister may enter into development agreements, and be in that section says, notwithstanding anything contained in any enactment. What you're saying, that there's certain existing laws that can be overridden, right? Those kind of sneaky things, I think, really shouldn't be there. And I referred already to the fact that the Prime Minister, with respect to the government, or the Premier, with respect to the Nevis Island administration, may establish independent oversight bodies to receive and review applications from potential zone developers, or to monitor zone developer compliance with the terms of any development agreement. That basically is saying, sure, the Prime Minister and the Premier might realize their deficiencies and rely on real experts to do these things. But these are technical things, very complex things, which I don't think they themselves can handle. And to use the language of may there, okay? May establish, that's not good enough. You gotta be stronger than that, all right? So those are things which people object to, and why some people are calling for a repeal of this act. Like I said, the government doesn't seem amenable to that. They don't seem to like the idea of that. They seem to be content with maybe tinkering around the edges, and I don't know that is going to cut it. Something that is such a game changer like this, that is so transformative as this can possibly be. I think they need the input of a lot more stakeholders. And by the way, a lot of stakeholders who would not normally get involved in these things. The Bar Association, one of the religious organizations, certainly one in Nevis. The Chamber of Industry and Commerce. I mean, when you have people like these, okay, so it's not just the opposition, the official opposition. When you have groups like these expressing reservations, you can't just ignore it. What kind of government would just ignore those kinds of power centers in society? They do so at their own risk. Not to talk about ordinary people who don't like the idea, who know the value of land, and don't like the idea of all these people coming and essentially owning large swaths of land in their country, you know. So I suspect, I don't know what would happen between now. Elections are not due for another 2 years, but if something isn't done, if things continue as they are, if this project is going to be rolled out, I suspect it's going to become a huge issue, if not the main issue, in the next general elections that we're going to have here. Okay, it's going to determine the future, not just of the individual politicians. Yes, it's going to determine their political future, but also that of the country. Okay, because I think people recognize that this is a big deal, right? This is not one of those things that people are going to talk for 9 days and then forget, right? This is going to have a lot of ramifications, and so people are going to sit up, take notice, and keep on taking notice, I suspect, until some kind of agreement, consensus is arrived at in relation to the Destiny Project, as well as this Special Sustainability Zone Act that have been, well, it's an act, so it's a law, okay? So it's a done, you could say that part of it is a done deal, right? And like I mentioned, separating it was it's interesting, you know. The government in St. Kitts seemed to want to facilitate the Premier and the NIA in Nevis by this act, okay, passing this act. But at the same time, they have a very hands-off approach to the Destiny Project in Nevis. They don't want to comment on it. They say it's a Nevis thing, okay? I suspect if this thing was such a great thing for the island of Nevis, the NIA and the Premier would have come out long time ago and said, look, we have this proposal coming up, this project coming up. It's going to change Nevis in such and such a way. These are bona fide investors, good people to have to come and live among us, not away from us, not in some zone somewhere, that exclusive zone somewhere where we don't have unlimited access to. Okay, this is a totally different kettle of fish, like I said, to any hotel property or condominium property. Okay, we do have some gated communities here. Okay, but they are small. To have over 2,000 acres of a gated community, that is in fact, don't like to hear it, but that is in fact a country within a country, you know? So I suspect that there are going to be changes to this. And if they're not changes, I think the politicians, the incumbent politicians, I suspect going to take a hit on this.
How?
Right? Because everybody is wondering, why are they so gung-ho on this project as it is? From what we've heard of it, and yes, we haven't heard everything, we don't know everything, but from what we've heard, right, it does not give us confidence, it does not give us trust in our current leaders to do the right thing. Something just isn't right about this project, right? And the fact that, you know, it seems as if the government in St. Kitts want to have it both ways, have this zone, but still keep it at a distance, you know, keep the distance from it. And I suspect too that you hear possibilities of zones in St. Kitts as well. I mean, and like I told you, there are no limits on things like how much acreage or how many people would be, how many residents there will be, those kinds of things. Well, Nevis is just a start, maybe 10,000 in 13. How may it be for St. Kitts? Okay, and that is why I think Kittitians have to sit up and take note as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's just a Nevis affair. Okay?
You mentioned earlier about some oppositions, the opposition itself, then the chamber, the religious groups. But the one that caught my eye was the Bar Association. Isn't the premier a attorney?
He is, yes.
So yeah, that's why.
Okay.
I was alleged.
There was a bit of a I'll use a nice word, miscommunication or misunderstanding between the Attorney General and the Bar Association, because the Bar Association, the Attorney General said that he didn't give them the bill first to look at, because in the past they've issued bills to the Bar Association, and they've basically been not been commented on. They just, I wouldn't say ignore, but did not provide feedback. Well, that didn't go down too well with the bar. Okay, they protested the fact that in the past it didn't receive enough notice for these things, for, I guess, to circulate the particular bills and canvass their membership and those kinds of things. to come out with positions, okay? But yes, there's one particular attorney, King's Counsel actually, who has made pronouncements in the past, and he was the one who initially came out with some reservations about the act itself, okay? And I guess the being a prominent person he is, people sat up and took note, and the Bar Association itself also issued the statements. I think the chamber gave a detailed explanation of the reservations. You know, like I said, it's difficult to get these groups to come together
to have a stance
and make a pronouncement on something like this.
Correct. Yeah.
And the fact that they've done it suggests that, you know, something has to give. Okay. I can't see the government continuing in a bullheaded way to pursue this as it is. Okay. They may try to. If I were them, I would try to salvage elements from it. Like, for instance, they're saying that the development in Nevis would involve 3 hotels. Okay, that's fine. Okay, but 10,000 residents? I don't think so. Like I said, there's another way of doing this thing where you have expatriate residents in Nevis already. They're living amongst the population. They're not exclusive away from it in some big land mass. Similarly, here in St. Kitts, you have very rich people in Christopher Harbour, living in Christopher Harbour, but they're not in any exclusive zone. Similarly, in Frigate Bay. Frigate Bay is even more integrated in that you have a lot of local people living in Frigate Bay among expatriate people as well. So there's no reason to go to this extreme model to develop the place or to continue the development of the place. But for some reason, these guys are insisting on it. And it's like I said, desperation time. I suspect, people are saying that for Nevis, it might be a legacy thing in that people are saying that for their years in office, Premier Brantley and the CCM hasn't really done significant enough work to develop Nevis. Okay, they kept saying that investors were knocking at the door, but nothing like a 4 seasons have come during their tenure. Okay, nothing big has come during their tenure, and so it might be a legacy thing for them, where we need to do something big, okay, for our legacy, right? In the case of St. Kitts, it's quite possible that a lot of these 10,000 people are going to be citizens, using the citizen by investment, the CBI processes. Well, 10,000 is that's a lot of money coming in for the federal government. So that might be what they're looking at in terms of what it can attract, the kind of revenues and so on.
While I look at, and I agree that those might look at the 10,000 for the money wise, I look at it that they're going to be voting. And when you have individuals like that could vote, but the premier is saying that they won't be able to. They change whatever regulations that they won't be able to. I don't know. Nobody has ever, as far as I know, challenged constitutionally whether or not you can stop a citizen from voting, especially if it is a resident here. Okay.
You know?
Yeah, that's new to me. I didn't know that.
That's certainly one of the considerations. Yeah.
Okay, so they could come in and live, but they can't vote.
That is what they're saying.
Okay. For now they can't vote.
I don't know that the Constitution allows that.
Yeah, and they will challenge him. I'm guaranteed that they'll challenge it.
You can. You know what was interesting? The group of developers apparently put out an advertisement in earlier this year saying basically saying you can get citizenship, and in 2 years you can vote.
See?
Now, to me, that is a statement of intent. Why would you do? Why would you say something like that? Well, you have CBI in advertisements all the time. You don't see them saying. Well, you see them saying you can acquire citizenship and the benefits in terms of visa-free travel and so on. That's the pull. But you don't see hearing them saying that you can vote in 2 years. That suggests something to me. That's something nefarious. That is a red flag.
Yeah, no,
Okay?
I agree. Let me go on a quick break here, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Hi. Do you want your child to learn a new game? How about chess? If so, call Mr. Wilkinson at 340-514-7054 or Mr. Allen at 340-514-2994. Call those numbers for more information to improve your child's chess abilities. Again, that's 340-514-7054 for Mr. Wilkinson or 340-514-2994 for Mr. Allen. Have a great time.
Attention all private homeowners and contractors. East Caribbean Metals, located on the island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, have affordable pricing on all roofing material, PVC pipes, steel, and much more. Call East Caribbean Metals, 1-784-456-1843. Remember, your U.S. dollar goes further when you purchase your building supplies from East Caribbean Metals. Visit www.ecmil.net for more product information.
Come and get your limited supply of hot sauce that flavors your pot like Mom's did. Also on sale is coconuts and sugarcane. Call 340-244-5801. That's 340-244-5801 or 407-719-2635.
Hi, good day. Do you live in the BVI or the USVI and want to advertise your product? Well, you've come to the right place. On FM 90.9 and FM 92.3, you can advertise your business or your event. All you have to do is call Atanya at 407-719-2635. Call Atanya if you live in the BVI or the USVI and want to advertise your product or your business and you want to reach more listeners. Call Atanya at 407-719-2635.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM. My name is Lawrence Boschulte. I'm my guest. If you could say your first and last name.
Ira McMahon.
All right. So before we went on break, we were talking about voting, and I only of all the different things that I read about this Destiny Project, the voting is what catches me the most, only because they can change out of the 10,000. Let's use a lower end again, 7,000. That alone, if they all stick together, can make any government that they want. And for sure, the individuals who vote on Nevis, can they vote for politician on St. Kitts?
If you know, right, it depends on where you register.
Okay.
Okay.
So if they, even though they live on Nevis, they could register for St. Kitts.
No, if they're resident in Nevis, you can, if you're resident really and truly, you're supposed to vote where you live.
Okay.
As it is, we have some loose regulations that allow I've forgotten the actual term, domicile or whatever it is, but allows you to have some connection in a particular place Okay, maybe that was a family home or something, right? But still vote somewhere else because you happen to live there or have another kind of connection there. There is, of course, the whole issue of the overseas vote.
Yes.
I mean, you perhaps know the considerable amount of time and money spent
Yes.
quoting that overseas, right there in the Virgin Islands.
And
But
not only here. My father-in-law used to live in Orlando, and I was told that they used to charter planes to go from Orlando to Nevis.
Of course, exactly. They do that. That tend to skew our elections. There are some people here who object to it in the sense that basically you fly them in, they vote, and then the next day you fly them out.
Correct.
And it's just inherently unfair for those who live here and have to live with the government. At the same time, again, it raises the constitutional question of if you're a citizen, right, and you have whatever links are, here, can you be stopped? Well, the regulations can stop you, but there's no agreement on what the regulations should be. I mean, they were changed quite some time ago, and I don't see no clamoring for them to change back to how it used to be, where you have to have where there's a residency requirement, whatever months before election.
I can guarantee you they would challenge. There will be those out of that 7, and I'm using the low number of the 7,000 who come to this project, and they will find somebody local in the bar association that will take up, as you say, when your money talks, and they'll be right there.
Yeah.
And will challenge.
They just have a class action.
Yeah, and they will challenge it. They will say that you guys already bring people in from America, fly them in to vote, and we live here, and you don't want us to vote. So I already see that they're going to control, because 7,000 on the low end of this 10,000 that they're saying is a lot of votes.
And it's not 7,000 ordinary people. It's 7,000 rich people.
Yes, correct.
They can. Well, I mean, okay, you may have full trust in your politicians, in the integrity of your politicians. I'm not so sure that they all are. And when they see them kind of money floating around, they're already mesmerized by glitz and glamour. Yeah. One of the things that a lot of people complain about here is the lifestyle of, basically they're flying up and down the place, and those kind of trappings of office, they seem to be very attracted to. Okay, so could you imagine the kind of money in a zone like this? I'm not so sure all of them. I'm not saying all of them are corrupt, but some of them might not be able to see that opportunity, if you want to call it that, and leave it alone.
Oh, understood. As we talked a little bit about the Four Seasons earlier, do you know how big that hotel, the property that they have, is it even 50 acres?
It's several hundred acres, maybe three. I'm not quite sure if it's as much as 4.
Okay, I didn't expect it to be that amount. Is it so? That mean it has a golf course on it as well, or how?
Yeah, it has a golf course, and it also has villas.
Okay, yeah, something similar to St. Thomas. I mean, we have one in St. John that sounds similar to it, but we don't have a golf course. But
I'm pretty sure it's between 300 acres or something like that.
Understood. So that's why I could understand what you're saying, that they should have started around something like that. Let's say they started Destiny program that started at 500 acres instead of 2,200. It would be more understandable at 500.
Right. Exactly. And it's so, and it also involves a fairly long coastline. Okay. Um,
If it involved the coastline,
they said they would provide access to like the beach, whatever beaches and so on they create there and so on. But these things.
that's a lie. There's no hotel that allows that. Most, even here in the Virgin Islands, they always say access is available, and they like every hotel you come to the U.S.
No. Well, that's not quite so here. Here, you have access to the beach.
Yeah, we have access to, right? But then there's a security that give you a hard time. So then you're like, why waste your time going? I don't go to no hotel beach because I'm not wasting my time having to go in a back and forth. So I go to beaches that I know that the locals go to because I'm not gonna go in the Western, or I won't go to. We have another one which is what though. I mean, it's not a great hotel. The beach is horrible, which is Margaritaville. I won't go to the Ritz-Carlton. I won't go to none of them beaches because I don't feel like getting harassed. So yeah, they'll say it's accessible. Accessible how? Walk into the beach. You have to park at a certain place and walk there. So and I used to work at a hotel doing security. So I understand what they tell us, what we have to tell them. Like I used to work at the Cove, which is a Marriott property. And they used to say, yeah, you could come to the beach. You have to park at the top of the hill and walk down. When walking down ain't the problem. It's walking back up. So, like I said, I sure wouldn't go to the Marriott, the same hotel I work at. I would never go to their beach. It's not a great beach, but I just wouldn't go because I wouldn't want to park my car at the top of the hill and then walk down to get a ride back up. So I agree with you. Yes, we here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, they say you could go to use the beach, but it's so much obstacles and headaches sometimes. It ain't worth it. In my eyes, there's other locals who go through and would be, I wouldn't say be defined, but would challenge them. That's on them. I'm not wasting my time for that.
Yeah. You have to wonder. I mean, if they say access, if you make access difficult, that's not access.
Correct. So and then their access is they'll put down the beach chairs, and they're not supposed to put it down. And if I come, then I move it. Then I still have to have like assist. Because I've been told by the commissioner of the PNR that anybody could move. Let's use the Ritz-Carlton on St. Thomas for example. It's flat. They do provide quote unquote 2 parking spots for beach accessible, which most of the employees park there anyway so that they don't have to walk far. So there goes the beach access because the employees are parking in the beach access that's for the public. So if you do get lucky and you get the public access parking spot at the Ritz-Carlton, you park there and you go to use the beach. They don't have the beach lined off with chairs. So now if you decide to move the chairs and put your little towel down to sit down, here comes security saying, well, so then, like I said, I ain't going to go through all of that. I'll just go to a beach that I know the locals go to, so I don't have to hear no noise. So that's why I say when they say access is available, whether it's Destiny, whether it's Four Seasons, even here, like I said, when they say it's accessibility, yeah, the access, they say that so that you could feel comfortable that you could use it, but then they make you feel uncomfortable for using the beach and being in the same type of area. For you being an advocate in St. Kitts and Nevis, is there any other projects other than Destiny that you see is causing a problem with the SSZ? Hello? Let me go on a quick break since it seemed like internet must have caused an issue.
Hi, do you need a limousine for your upcoming wedding? Or maybe just picking up family and friends or clients from the airport? Or maybe taking them to or bringing them from the ferry? Well, if you need a limousine and you want to impress, just call 407-719-2635. Again, that's 407 719-2635 and ask for Tanya. Remember, a limousine is the way to go.
That's the sound of your animals. Strong, healthy, and delivering yields you love. That didn't just happen. It began with you feeding them only the best. East Caribbean Feeds. Rest assured, we only produce your feeds with premium ingredients. No hormones, no animal byproducts. Just everything your animal needs for maximum nutrition. Because your animals deserve only the best. East Caribbean Feeds for maximum nutrition.
East Caribbean Feeds has arrived in the BVI. Proudly available at Emperor International, Warehouse B, Skelton Bay Lot, Fish Bay, Tortola. Trusted quality, proven nutrition. Give your animals the care they deserve with maximum nutrition. Telephone number 540-2225.
Are you looking for stew cherries or even some delicious cookie dough with various assorted flavors? Call 407-719-2635. No need to have them only for Christmas or Carnival. Don't forget, we have family away and they're always looking for some sweets from home. So call 407-719-2635.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM. My name is Lawrence Boschulte. My guest, if you could say your first and last name. It seemed like we lost the guest. Let me try and get him back up and we'll be right back.
Let me see raise the roof and have some fun. Grow away the bird to be done. Let the music play on, play on, play on. Everybody sing, everybody dance. Lose yourself in one romance. We're going to party, carnival, fiesta, forever. Come on and sing along. We're going to party, carnival, fiesta, forever. Come on and sing along.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM. My name is Lawrence Boschulte, and my guest, if you could say your first and last name.
Ira McMahon.
Okay, great to hear. So we're back. These things happen.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I thought you had a time limit on it.
Oh no. I good until another. Let me see. We wrap up here at 9. So in another 20 minutes, 20 minutes or so.
I thought it was 7 to 8.
Yeah, it is. But I'll Andy, of course, get big privileges here on the radio station, so you get extra hour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So before we went on, not you or me, but somehow the powers that be, I guess Murphy's Law stated that they want me to talk too much about how in the U.S. Virgin Islands I can't speak about St. Kitts and Nevis. They say the same thing you guys say. They say that you could use the beach, but we'll go past that. And is there any other projects in St. Kitts Nevis that use the SSZ that seems to be having other problems as well?
No. There's no. Actually, the Prime Minister would tell you right now, there is no SSZ project at all in the Federation, right? Including the Destiny thing, because he has not received a proposal for consideration. Similarly, there's none in St. Kitts, although the ex-Prime Minister hinted at a certain section called the White Gate area in St. Kitts could be declared one, okay? But as of right now, there are no SSCs in St. Kitts. You see, that's what they were saying, that the bill is just a framework that allows for the creation of them, the authorization of these SSZs. The proposals have to be developed and agreed on and ratified before they come into existence. Okay? And Brantley has a way of saying, well, we don't know the details of the project, so because we don't know, we make up things. But the fact is, you have to look, just like there are lots of SSGs existing in the world. Some are successful, some are not, right? It is some new experience. We know the pitfalls. And so just like how you would laud the possibilities that it can bring, you must be aware of the pitfalls themselves, okay? And as Brantley himself, when they had the debate in the parliament about it, was saying, if done right, and I remember him repeating it, if done right, it could be a good thing. And the mere fact that he himself emphasized that suggests that he's aware that things can go wrong. And so we should, in fact, be discussing possible pitfalls and make sure that the legislation close possible loopholes and is tight enough to prevent the kinds of concerns that we have from happening.
You mentioned earlier that St. Kitts and Nevis have been developed well since they gained independence. How many years is it now? I think it's 4. Is it 40 or 30? How many years?
No, it's 40. We got independence in 83. Do the math.
Okay, so yeah, so it's quite a. I was saying it's quite a bit for. So I know. Yeah. Because I think it was about a month ago was the anniversary, or
September.
Yes. As you stated, what development has occurred that you feel that you could put your fingers on? I mean, when I was in St. Kitts, of course I saw the Marriott. I've been to the Marriott a few times. I've noticed you guys have a few schools, especially the veterinary school, the nursing school. Do you feel those type of development is what created St. Kitts and Nevis, put them on the map, to be ahead of what people would expect you guys to be?
Well, certainly the medical schools had an impact in so many ways. Apart from the fact that they have students here, they have several thousand students, I think, combined among them. They who integrate themselves in the society in terms of they have to buy stuff and those kinds of things, right? And in addition to that, one of the big impacts they've made is in housing. A number of people
Correct.
have apartments,
Or
their home, built apartments with their homes.
Or rent out the whole house.
And basically they rent out, pay their mortgage.
Yes.
Okay? Quite a number of people. So
And some of them rent out the whole house and have another house.
yeah, that's also a possibility, yeah. Okay.
And that's,
of course, the parents of these people probably would visit. So it's educational tourism in a sense.
correct, yes.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the healthcare has improved because you have these medical schools in St. Kitts?
Not because of the medical schools, no. I get the impression that the programs done here for the medical schools, like preliminary programs more. I don't think they do like the clinical stuff here, right? They usually have to transfer somewhere else for that. So it's not that they do the entire program. It's not that they do the entire program here. The what you call when they go to the hospital to residencies.
Residency,
so,
correct,
yeah, all those kinds of things. I don't think they're done here. Okay, so
I only mention that because, like you stated, and I know it's more than one medical school in St. Kitts, that with all that amount of individuals there, the government didn't get together with both schools and say, look, you guys have to run the hospital and make it a better atmosphere so that individuals from St. Kitts and Nevis don't have to fly, whether it's to USVI or to the BVI.
Well, interestingly enough, the new hospital that is supposed to be built is smack in the area where a number of these schools are. Okay? And so it might be what they call those, a health pack, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is in close proximity. And so I suspect that might have an impact in terms of making sure that, certainly I would expect that the hospital and new hospital would be accredited and have links with these medical schools to effect even more advanced training, right? Especially if things like research and so on is involved. I know, for instance, that the Behavioral Sciences Foundation, I think it is called, we call it here the Monkey Farm. I don't know if they still do it. They used to do a lot of research medical research on monkeys, okay? So I think some one of the universities in the States, I don't know if there's still a connection between them. But, there are possibilities for things like that research. Well, that our health system generally becomes more sophisticated because of the fact that, they have these schools here. And of course, the fact that, and like I said, okay, we talk about the 7 and 10,000, right? And the scale of the Destiny Project, for instance. It doesn't have to be that many. We could encourage medical tourism. People come here to convalesce and those
Correct.
kinds of things.
Yes.
1,000, 2,000, sure, we can absorb those easily. But not 7 and 10,000. Come on, man. You're asking for trouble.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I was on the voting, but you're right, because that's why I was asking questions now to say, okay, other than voting, how can this? What will the factors be of this 7 to 10,000? And if I am looking at this and said not all would be living on Nevis, then are you saying that out of the 7 on the low end, some of those individuals will be living on St. Kitts as well, or is all 7 going to be on Nevis?
Well, the 7 to 10, that's on Nevis, okay? But I suspect there would be similar zones in St. Kitts, okay? And one of the things that I think the Premier said was that they would, the problems, they have problems completing the Alexandria Hospital in Nevis. They're thinking that these people would help them to do just that, rather than put a facility in their zone, right? They would upgrade the facilities at the Alexandria Hospital so that so that Nevis would benefit, as well as the people living in the zone from advanced medical care, right? Which would make sense, but I'm still saying that scale is going to change the character in a way that we would not going to like. Reduce those numbers, right? Have a manageable project. I don't think that project can be manageable one bit. Okay, I think we're asking for trouble inside there.
I agree. Did you see the Destiny video? It was sent to me about I think it's almost 13 minutes long or something like that.
I saw it. I saw it.
And so when he stated, and I'm not saying you would know, because some of the questions that I have when he stated that they were going to live in harmony and have, like you was mentioning about Frigate Bay, that they're going to have locals and individuals that are coming in, staying together. I had a question on that. Is it because that they're going to be working on the Destiny project and that's the only individuals who could stay there? Or, so I wasn't sure if that meant that individuals who don't work, like individuals who work at the Four Seasons or who work at a hospital or who work at the power plant, can they stay in this area that they're going to have the homes? And what type of homes? Are they going to be apartment type of complex? Are they going to be single family homes? Are they going to be apartments? How?
But that's the whole point. If it was an integrated complex, if it was going to integrate, places down here in St. Kitts where you have very wealthy people, but we have a number of wealthy people here too, thanks to the CBI. They can live there as well if you can afford it. Okay, I mean, I suspect a number of people in St. Kitts cannot afford to live, let's say, down Christopher Harbour. Might live in Frigate Bay, where probably property prices probably, in the region of, let's say, $1 million US or something like that. Okay? But these are people, these are billionaires. And I suspect, I mean, when you go further down the peninsula, for instance, people are building $5 and $10 million homes. Okay? These are people with really high net worth. I suppose that's the kind of persons who are going to be in that zone. Not ordinary, certainly not ordinary divisions. Okay?
That's amazing. I have 3 minutes left. You want to give some closing thoughts on the project or anything dealing with St. Kitts and Nevis?
Well, I'm just hoping that they find an off-ramp for this project. One that takes into account the kinds of reservations expressed, scale it back, probably let's have the 3 hotels, that would be nice, okay? Have some residences, not 7 and 10,000, okay? And make sure that you don't have no country within no country, okay? Let them, okay, sure. Most developments, as you know, you go to Florida and you see some gated communities, and they have their bylaws and homeowners associations and those things that have regulation. But you certainly don't have the kinds of regulations and so on that make them feel that they're alarmed to themselves and they exclude everybody else and those kinds of things. Okay? I'm saying that we in St. Kitts and Nevis should be able to find some happy medium where, sure, bring in the investors, bring in people, come and live with us on our terms, not theirs. Okay? I was really shocked the other night when, in answer to a question, I think it was the Premier who said, well, the developers wanted to be in an SSZ, okay, as opposed to, because I think the person asked, why couldn't they use existing legislation and have concessions and so on? And he's going to say that the developers wanted it. Well, what do we want? Who said we want that kind of separateness? Someone went as far as to call it apartheid, because that is what it essentially would be. Okay, if you come in to invest and live here, then you come here and invest and live among us, not away from us, not separate from us. Okay, so I'm hoping that they find some happy medium where this is scaled back and, we can salvage something from it. Okay, I wouldn't say abandon the project. Even if they don't go for the repeal of the law, of the act, at least make significant amendments that would satisfy the concerns of so many segments of our society who are up in arms against this. Okay?
Great, Mr. How to pronounce it? McMahon?
McMahon. Ira is fine, no.
Yeah, but no ending, so I have to be respectful. So, Mr. McMahon, I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much.
You all in the United States have this funny way of pronouncing it, McMahon. Remember Ed McMahon?
Yeah, when I had a football player named McMahon, so
we say McMahon.
McMahon. Okay. Thank you so much for providing the information to me and my listeners. Yeah. I look forward to.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and it was really nice, talking to you and getting a feel for down there in the Virgin Islands too. I was down there about 2 years ago. In all honesty, I guess that's a topic for another time.
Yeah, we gotta get going.
I thought Virgin Islands would be further ahead.
Yeah, my time is up. But thank you so much, and we look forward to speaking to you again. Okay, that brings us to the end of the Caribbean Connection on 90.9 FM. Thank you so much for listening. I will be on Saturday from 12 to 2 p.m.
Why my people suffer so bad?